Welcome back, everyone. I'm Gabby Kisters, Head of Global Marketing here at ESOMAR. I hope you've been having a wonderful time with us virtually and have been connecting with your delegates on site as well using our Hopin platform. Don't forget that you can submit your questions, your comments through Hopin and also through our social media pages by using the hashtag ESOMAR75. Right now, I'm here with my personal favorite, one of our very own, Geraldine Proust and Claudio Gennaro, both from our ESOMAR team. I think I'm just going to let you guys introduce yourselves, but first I'd like to say welcome. It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you.
So tell me, who are you and what is GAPS?
Thank you, Gabby, for having us here today. So I'm Geraldine Proust, and I'm Head of Government Affairs and Professional Standards at GAPS. And Claudio?
So I'm Claudio Gennaro, and I'm the Senior Advocacy Programs Coordinator at ESOMAR. And we're also your favorite team, I'm hearing.
You are actually my favorite team, although I'm not supposed to say that. But what is actually GAPS? Because it's an acronym that we use very often, but I'm not quite sure if everyone around the industry actually knows what it stands for.
Sure. GAPS stands for Government Affairs and Professional Standards. Yeah. And within the GAPS team, we have three committees. So there's the Legal Affairs Committee, which focuses on advocacy. And we have also the Professional Standards Committee, which focuses on professional standards and compliance. And finally, we have the Association Executive Committee, which focuses on associations and great projects and capacity building, and we'll be telling you more about that. And GAPS is also a four-person team. There's myself, Claudio, who's here, and we also have two colleagues back in the Netherlands. We have Jules and Paola.
Yeah. Now, back in Amsterdam, we do work very well together and very closely together. So the GAPS and the marketing team align very much. What is the importance of that, actually? Why is it important for us to have such a close-knit relationship between the marketing department and the GAPS department, in your opinion?
Well, maybe go. Yeah, we actually sit at the same. We sit at the same table at the office with the comms. So this is really a symbol of how close the relationship between the two departments is. Yeah. Well, comms is essential in everything that ESOMAR does. Everything that is done but is not communicated outside, it really doesn't exist outside the department. And GAPS is involved in so many initiatives together with all the committees. We love acronyms in ESOMAR, so it's GAPS, LAC, PSC, DSC. We have as many as you want, and all these committees, all these teams come up with so many good projects, with so many amazing projects, so inspiring, that sometimes it's hard for us as a team to communicate it outside. Effectively, all of them. So that's why this team, this extended team, so within GAPS and comms, is really essential for anything that we do. But I don't want it to be only us saying good things about comms. So you can also say something nice about GAPS now.
Yes, well, I've been here for a month, and as you know, we work very closely together. And I'm so interested in the projects that you work with and you develop. I think it's so crucial for the industry, and I'm learning a lot. We're going to talk a little bit later about the demographics project, which is one of my personal favorites at the moment amongst a lot. But speaking of projects, which projects do you think help research do their work the best?
Well, we do cover several projects, and it's really thrilling stuff where we enjoy it very much. And one of them, you're right, it's demographics, and that's to make sure that the researchers, when measuring demographics, can use unbiased and comparable data worldwide. And so that's an exciting project. And it started with age, and it's expanding to working status and gender. So that's a lot of fun stuff coming there to increase better data quality for researchers. And Claudio has two projects that you'd like to talk about also, the data protection checklist and secondary data use.
Yeah, I would say definitely the data protection checklist has been one of the most used piece of guidance that ESOMAR has produced in the last years. So the original version is dated 2017. So, and if you think it's data protection checklist, and in 2017, data protection was a totally different word. It was a word pre-GDPR. It was a very different. The perception of data protection was very different. And so far it's been, I guess it still is the most downloaded document from our portal. Yeah. But as you can imagine, it was time to redesign and reimagine and rethink what data protection actually means in a post-GDPR world. So what data protection means and what are the requirements for essential requirements for GDPR compliance in data protection compliance, because it doesn't really it doesn't focus only on GDPR, but it's a more holistic, more international view on data protection. But a change was much needed. So last year in spring, I think we started again reimagining what this piece of document, what this checklist should be. And we will have a new version of the document available for download by the end of the year.
Good. Yes, yes, this is great stuff, because it's you know, the researchers out there always have these difficult questions to answer. You know, how can I process data lawfully? Am I doing the right thing? You know, so this is a useful ethical tool for them. And the other useful ethical tool that we have.
The secondary data.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, the secondary data is also one of the essential piece of guidelines that was developed by ESOMAR, together, of course, with the PSC, which stands for Professional Standards Committee, in this year. And even though it's a quite young guideline, has been published, I believe, in spring. It was probably June.
Yes, we published it in spring, in June, with a webinar. Remember, we did that with a webinar.
And it's quickly become one of the centerpiece of the guidelines that ESOMAR offers. And it's very well appreciated by researchers, especially young researchers who are facing secondary data and are dealing with secondary data for the first time. Is a very clear, provides really clear guidance to researchers.
Because, you know, now there's so much data going around now. You know, there's Internet of Things data, IoT. There's a lot of observed data, and so all this data, all this secondary data, you want to make sure that you're crossing the I's, well, rather dotting the I's and crossing the T's before you start using it. And so it's that document that will help make sure you're checking the source, make sure you're checking the lawful basis to stay compliant. And then I'll conclude on one of our other projects, which is artificial intelligence. Yeah. And there we just heard the chair of the Professional Standards Committee, Judith, and the chair of the Legal Affairs Committee, Mike, just launching a few minutes ago here at ESOMAR the discussion around a potential ethical code for AI. Wow. And it's true that with all the volume and velocity and variety of data that there is, and this increased power to make decisions, you know, in a split second, sometimes decisions which have real impacts on people, then it's important to make sure that there's the ethical framework around it to help researchers find their way and know what they should be doing and how they should be leveraging AI to help their research, and how they should maybe be careful and reconsider things.
It's extremely interesting. Extremely interesting. You work on so many things at once, and a lot of the research and guidelines that you put out really fills the gap in the market right now. And I find that to be extremely thought-provoking, because you are one step ahead of the game. So if the need is there, you go ahead, you assess the need, and then you release something. I think that's incredible. But speaking of launching, you mentioned demographics research. I think it's important for us to remind all of you that it launches tomorrow. You can still pre-download it and get it as soon as the session ends. It's something that's really to look out for. But let's talk about a little bit of threats and opportunities coming up. Regulations. Are there any threats and opportunities from any upcoming regulations coming out?
Ooh, yes, there is actually. Yes. Well, we as an industry, we strive to be the voice, an unbiased and representative voice for individuals and citizens out there. And unfortunately, yes, there's numerous legislative threats, and And so these legislative threats can sometimes create uncertainty. And so one of the uncertainties that the industry is facing right now is around safe international transfers. So for researchers, it's sometimes very difficult to know, can they actually transfer the data? And when you're using third parties who are in other countries, and you're outsourcing things, then that ends up being a really crucial question. So there's a lot of legal uncertainty there, and we're working hard to monitor the situation and bring answers to our members. Also on the question of processor and controller, right? It's all around data protection legislation, privacy. It still remains a priority also for national associations in terms of advocacy. And finally, there's also some legislation to really impact the way researchers work. For example, how research panelists can contribute to research, and that was one tricky question which came out recently. But luckily, there are some opportunities. And so, Claudia, you can say a bit more about those opportunities.
Yeah, sure. But also, like to say that in general, the opportunity is always being involved in the conversation and being directly involved and being able to shape what the discussion is going to be before it actually happens. And this again reconnects with the threat. The threat is not being able to follow the discussion, not being able to follow what are the latest development in the proposed piece of legislation that might be discussed, and anywhere in any line, any paragraph, there might be a definition that doesn't fit with the purpose, with the priorities of market research. So in every small piece of legislation, there might be hidden somewhere a definition that really become time-consuming, or in the best scenario, or very disruptive in the worst. Yeah. So the risk here is not being able to follow what the legislative discussion is at all the time. The opportunities are many, and I think that through the advocacy services or the advocacy efforts that ESOMAR, but in general GAPS team provides, that's a great opportunity of being able all the time remain up to date with the trends of the moment, the legislative trend, and propose the discussions, because through the Legal Affairs Committee, for example, I see that Mike is preparing for the interview later. Through that committee that committee plays a fundamental role in making sure that members, that companies are able to enter the room of power, in the button rooms, do you say in English, with the stakeholders and with those who actually with the movers and shakers of the industry. So that's the greatest opportunity that the GAPS team, but ESOMAR can provide, is taking you into the power room and making you shake hands with those who actually draft and decide.
Which is something very valuable, actually, if you think about it.
I would say so.
Yeah, very valuable. We do have a question from the audience, and this is actually a quite important one, because someone asked, who can I reach out to if I have questions or want to lodge a complaint about a research project?
Thank you for the question. So you can reach out to the GAPS team, and you can also, if the question specifically concerns European data protection questions, then we have a special service, right?
Yes, we have Serene. So through esomar.org, you can navigate through esomar.org, and we have a system that allows you to lodge a complaint or ask a questions. And for anything else, you can also write to professional.standards@esomar.org.
Yes, we got also ESOMAR Plus service for special European data protection questions, and for all questions and complaints. Exactly, we got a complaint and question process. It's very easy. You can find it on our website, and we're there for you.
Great.
We have a beautiful new website since 6 months, less than a year. So just go on the website and all the information are there. It's much better now.
We do, that is true. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but it was amazing having both of you here. I really do hope that we get to chat again. Are you guys going to stick around, check out more of the conference?
Of course.
Yes.
Right. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.